My name is Jeff. I'm an addict. I'm glad to be here. I'm especially glad to be here clean. I'm nervous. I got a weak bladder. Narcotics Anonymous is the only place that you people allow me to sing. Every other place I've been told to shut up, and I can sing. I can't carry a tune. Nobody makes fun of me. It's one of the things I like about this place. Oh, yeah, we're in Vegas. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Anybody that's worried about it, the tables will be open later. Okay? Yeah. I tell you, I've learned the meaning of powerlessness in a lot of ways in my life. And I've had some unfortunate experiences early on in my recovery that have taught me to treat those tables down there with respect. Yeah. I'm supposed to tell you what's going on in my life and share my experience, strength, and hope with you. And hopefully you will be not too bored with what's happened to me in my recovery. I know I'm real grateful to be a member of Narcotics Anonymous. I know if it wasn't for Narcotics Anonymous that I wouldn't be here today. I know that without you people in rooms like this, there'd be no me. So that makes me a pretty damn grateful addict. You know, I know for me that one is too many and 1,000 is never enough. And I am the cliche of living to use and using to live. That was me. And I did it for a number of years until I finally got the first step right. And I admitted. You know, we admitted we were powerless over our disease of addiction, our lives have become unmanageable. For me today, I guess the admission part was early on in my recovery. Today I accept the fact I'm an addict. And that's taken a number of years. And it's taken a lot of inventories and a lot of changes to accept the fact that I'm an addict. And I will be that way until the day I die. And to be happy about it. To be okay with it. To know that I have to live this way of life until I die. It's nice to have that. For me, it's nice to have that type of conviction and that type of resolve to know that this is it. You know, and this is my chance. You know, I don't know how many times I was out there that I thought I had the last chance, that was it, and it was all over. And my higher power intervened and allowed me another opportunity. And I believe when I drove through this door that this became my last opportunity at recovery. And I'm overwhelmed by it. I don't know about you guys being happy about it for me, but I'm happy about knowing that. You know, I'm happy. I know I got one large relapse, but I don't have another recovery. So that makes my options very slim. And that makes my willingness very willing. I mean, I'm strong on willingness because this is it. If I blow this, I'm gone. You know? And I only have to do it for today. I just have to not use today. Just for today. And it's going to be all right. No matter how bad it is in any given day, if I don't pick up, it's a good day. There's a lot of ways that I've described my using career. You know, and it was a career. I was dedicated. I put in a lot of hours. I was convicted. You know, I was one of them on-time guys, you know. As soon as I woke up in the morning, I said, I got a job to do. I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. You know? And I showed up at your door real soon after that. Sometimes to your window. But, one of the ways that I like to correlate it with, it's sort of like one of how I used to have relationships before I came in to this program. My drug use was something like this. First I flirted with it, and then I got real intimate with it, and then I got obsessed by it, and then no matter what I could do, I could not get that woman off my back. Chased me into the hounds of hell. You know, and if any of you ladies out there, you can just substitute man for woman. I'm sure it's there. I think that's one thing that makes about this program one of the best places that I've ever been, is that it works so well, and you guys show me so much love and acceptance. I'm not going to go into. I really don't want to go into like. And when I was 6, I started using. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that to myself, and I don't want to do that to you people. Because I'm up here to celebrate recovery. And there's a lot of people here to celebrate recovery. And there's a lot of newcomers here Okay? And if you want to get the opportunity to celebrate recovery, if you haven't already been celebrating recovery since you've been here, you have to learn about one thing. No matter how bad it is, you just don't use. And you do a few things that our text suggests. Okay? And that's just go to meetings, get a sponsor, and work the steps. You know, and I used to come to rooms like this, and I used to hear people up at the podium like that, talking like that, and I'd say, oh, what a crock of shit. Can't you talk about some fun stuff? Like relationships, you know? But that's the meat of our program, you know? It's like that gentleman that came up here earlier. The only suggestion that I could give to him with that text in his hand, and this is just my personal opinion, was for him to read page 53 till his fucking eyeballs fell out. Till his eyeballs fell out. You know? And that works real well. I'm sure everyone got their own personal page, you know, for me. That's the one that I like. I love that text, you know. And when we first got our text, because I've been around when we started out as a little white book, you know, and that's all we had. And that's the only message of Narcotics Anonymous that I knew. And then it became a basic text, you know. And it's nice to have that book in my life. It's nice to have that basic text. You know, it's not really a literary masterpiece, but it's definitely a guide to better living, you know. Especially the fourth edition, yeah. No, I just got finished reading that fourth edition. It reads real well to me. I love it. I really do. You know, and that's God as He expresses Himself in our good conscience. Yeah. The steps have made me a human being today, and you people have made me a human being. When I got here, I was a mindless animal, and I worked out of three emotions: fear, insecurity, and low self-esteem. Okay, and I had a little side order of hate in there. That's all I knew. And when I showed up through these doors, you guys gave me love and acceptance and understanding and compassion. And I couldn't understand why. You know? I couldn't understand why. You know, when you guys gave me hugs and my wallet was there. You know? And you told me to keep coming back. And like, I was not the most lovable type of addict when I first drove up here. There's some people that know me from those days. I was temperamental, temper tantrums. I'd kick chairs over the meetings and curse at people, and I'd sell handguns at meetings. And I just didn't understand those simple ideas, you know, that you people were trying to drill in my head. I was willing because I knew that I couldn't hang out there no more. It was getting too tough. I was talking about it with Barbara earlier about the substitution syndrome for me, you know, and I've changed chemicals so many times that I could probably be a case study for Eli Lilly or one of those places. But, you know, it was always something on the external to make the internal feel okay. Okay? And the reason that I use is because I used to have this hole in my gut. And the worst thing I think you can do to an addict is to take away his drugs. That's the worst thing you can do, because as soon as you take away the drugs, you feel that hole in the gut. Okay? So you got to put something back in that hole. And what you put back in is the steps and meetings and getting a sponsor. And that fills that void real well. It makes me feel like a human being. It makes me feel whole. And I never knew that for I don't know how many years. For a long time. Every time I came down, I just didn't feel right. I just couldn't handle. I was not a very... I was never a responsible, productive member of society when I was out there. I wasn't like one of those functional type people. I was a career addict, and I did it real well, you know. And I stayed out there quite successfully. If you want to call it a success. But it took me just the right amount to get here. I don't think I did one drug too much or one drug too little. I did just enough to get me through these doors. And when I first got here, I was scared. Okay? I was scared all the time. And you would never know it. Okay? Some of the old timers with some time could see it, you know? I used to get busted on that, you know, like, why are you wearing sunglasses? It's 9 o'clock at night, you know? I'm just hanging, I'm being cool, you know? You know, why do you carry guns to meeting, Jeff? Is something you're afraid of? No, I'm just watching my back. In a meeting? Yeah, and it was nothing about being bad. It was about being scared. You know, it was about having so much fear that I couldn't take off my sunglasses because I couldn't look you in the eye, because if I looked you in the eye, you'd see what a puss bag I was. and you'd throw me out. You know? But you just told me to keep coming. And you took me with my character defects and my insecurities and my fears, and you gave me a new way of life. A new way of life. You know, I was never a tie guy. Okay? I was never a suit man. You know, the only time you see me like this is where you please rise. That's when I used to be dressed like this. And I'd be combed real nice, and my fingernails would be polished and shit, you know. You know, just give me one more chance. I was one of those ore type addicts. I was always waiting for they give you the real deal, and sometimes they give you the ore. You know, that's how I got in the Marine Corps. On one of those ores. You see, go to jail 3 to 5 ore. Or I'll go into service, you know. I got patriotic real quick, learned the Marine Corps hymn, national anthem, ran down there, got inspected, injected, and I went off. You know? And I was ready, you know, and honest to God, I made a decision at that time not to use anymore. And I went to Paris Island. You know, it was my first detox. Really. And I stayed clean for 4 months. They didn't have anything you get high on down there, but I stayed clean for 4 months, you know. And I got out of Paris Island, and I landed up in Camp Lejeune, and I found carbona cleaning fluid. Boy, man, I did some nasty things in my life. And you know, I turned all these good old boys onto it, you know. These guys from North Carolina and stuff weren't from the streets where I was, and they didn't know how to cope with that type of thing, so they all decided to go on a 40-mile march with these rags. Yeah, it was a great march. Boom, 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 boom. Next day, carbona cleaning fluid was not in the PXs in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. Boy, I was pretty, I was one of those mellow type addicts. Kick back, lay back, just give me my doobie and I'll be right. No. I went to California, okay? And if I start to ramble, I apologize. I went to California in 1968, and this is just going with that ore addict type syndrome that I have. I went to California in 68, and it was 68. It was rock and roll and beaches and, you know, broads and new type of chemicals to expand your consciousness. And I did that real well. Only problem is I couldn't really subsidize my insanity on a Marine Corps salary. So I decided to like import it onto my Marine Corps base. And that's what I did, you know, and I got the apartment off base, and I was having a great time, and then one day they came into my squad bay, and they arrested me. And at that time, the Marine Corps didn't want to admit that they had a drug problem. I don't know if they want to admit it now, but they definitely didn't want to admit it then. They gave me an option. See, I was supposed to go to Hawaii for 2 years. I was a crypto teletype operator. I just don't picture Marines as crypto teletype operators, you know, sit behind the thing. You know, it doesn't seem like the Marine Corps image, but that's what I was, you know. Boy, man, I never copped to that from a podium. I just never have. I don't know if I ever will again, but tonight's the night, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, what happened was I got busted, and they said, well, listen, we can court-martial you, or, and my ears picked up, you know. They said, oh, we can transfer you to Camp Lejeune and make you a radio operator. And you know, it was 1968, and people were going to strange and exotic places and doing extended tours in countries we never even dreamed about fighting in. And I took that or option. I went to be a radio operator. And for a long time from this podium and in meetings, I tell a little lie. I tell a lie that the Marines sent me to Vietnam in 1968. That's a lie. The real deal is, and the truth is, I volunteered because I didn't know any better. And things were crazy where I was. So I went over to Vietnam in 68, and I just want you to know that if there's any veterans out there that say they can't stay clean because of Vietnam, that's a lie too. You know, because the steps work real well, as some of you veterans sitting in the room do know. And the steps have worked on all the insanity in my life. So I went to Nam in 68, and I stayed there for a couple of years. I decided while I was over there that I did not want to come home. Okay? I decided that I didn't deserve to come home. I decided that, you know, notice the key word in that sentence has been I. You know, I decided that I want to die over there. I can't say I did it on a conscious thing, but I decided that I was going to be the best person that possibly could be as a radio operator and do mean, nasty, ugly things. And I learned about hate and hostility, and I learned about love. Strange concept in a jungle to learn about love, and I never found that love until I walked into these rooms ever again. There was a certain bonding, there was a certain camaraderie, there was a certain love and care that wasn't spoken about, but it was felt. Okay? I could feel it. You know, on rare occasions we talked about it. And I never found it until I walked into these rooms. See, there's a strange thing where I correlated between my Vietnam experience and this experience. See, people care over there whether I stayed alive or not. Because if I stayed alive, I could keep their ass alive the next day. And I watched their asses so they could watch mine. And that's what happens in these rooms. People care about other people staying clean, and they have to give that message away on how to stay clean so they can give it to somebody else and they can keep it themselves. And I didn't understand that for a long time. I understand that today. The other thing that I did when I went to those jungles was I stuck with the winners, so to speak. I stuck with the people that had been there 2 tours and 3 tours. They knew how to stay alive. Okay? Now, for somebody that wanted to die, it was kind of strange thinking, but that's the way it went. When I walked through these rooms, and I realized that this was the last chance for me, okay? And Narcotics Anonymous was it. I hung with the people that knew how to stay clean. Because they knew how to stay clean. I mean, the people with 10 days, and 3 days, and 5 days, and 4 days, I hung out with. But I hung out with the guys that had time because they had something I wanted. And what I wanted to know is I wanted to know the secret. Because I knew it had to be a secret. Because you guys hadn't told me for a number of years. You know? See, I just wasn't looking in the right places. I wasn't aware of a thing called Narcotics Anonymous until I arrived in Phoenix, Arizona in 1978. I've been there ever since. There's been some, I made a few motions at Region to make me move, but they haven't passed yet. Yeah, that was close. Thank God my babies are in service, yeah. Anyway, it was 1969 now, and what they did was they came out in the field and told me I was going home. My tour wasn't up, it wasn't time for me to go home, and I decided I wanted to stay, but they told me I was coming home. So I came home, and I learned a lot about hate over there, and I learned a lot about you get anything you want with hate and hostility and a pistol, and I tried to practice that method of living on the streets of New York and Jersey City and that type of bullshit type lifestyle. And I started making those yearly moves, you know, pack up the house and family and wife and the kid and stuff. Didn't have a wife, didn't have a family, didn't have a kid, but every once in a while, every time grand juries convened, I was really psyched for moving, you know. Yeah, I had a strange habit of either getting called to talk about somebody else or they wanted to talk to me. Well, somebody was talking about me. So I'd move a lot. And I went to Boston, I went to North Carolina, and here and there and everywhere. And I started running, you know, and everywhere I went with me. And nothing ever got better. And no matter what combination I used of drugs, it just didn't drive that pain away. And I knew that it was over. And it took me a couple more years to realize, you know, I was one of them type of addicts that thicker than others, you know. I was rapidly approaching my bottom at about 12,000 miles an hour. And I think I may have bounced and ricocheted a few times too. But I landed in Denver, okay? I was a mile high and mile high. And you know, the trappings were good, the lifestyle was, you know, outwardly I looked like a successful dope dealer. But God, you know, but inwardly I was just full of pus. I just hated myself. I hated everybody equally. I didn't like myself. I had to get up. I lived to use to live, etc., etc. And I made a decision in Denver. I made a decision to move back to San Diego. And see how lucky you are, Barbara. My car broke down in Phoenix. You know? It's like I had this nice Lincoln Continental, and it run real well. And in Phoenix, Arizona, God started working in my life a little more outwardly than he had been. He had been remaining pretty anonymous most of my life, you know. But he started to reveal himself in strange and mysterious ways. And like one of the ways that he revealed himself was just like I was driving through town and my transmission fell out in my nice shiny car. And I was running with this lady and her name was Patricia. And to this day I'm eternally grateful to her because she helped me get to this program. And she paid with her life. Okay? And she was with me. And I landed there November 24th. On November 28th she died of pulmonary hypertension from a massive injection of a chemical. And she died in my arms, and the only emotion that I remember was anger at that time. I was angry at her for leaving me in Phoenix, Arizona. And I was incapable of functioning. The only thing I was capable of doing was locking myself into my apartment and getting loaded. And I became what they call insane. I'm sure people like yourselves have reached that point, just like I have, like me. I used to have to burglarize conversations from people, okay? I laid up in my room and I'd listen to the people next door, talk through the walls. And I was crazy. I was full tilt. And somebody came and 12-stepped me. And they took me to a detox. And I went to this detox, and seemed like a good idea, you know. I wasn't doing nothing else. I said, sure, I'll go down there. What's happening down there? You know. In fact, I just talked to the lady 3 nights ago prior to coming up here, the lady that admitted me to that detox, and she had forgotten that my clean date's coming up, and we were talking about starting a meeting in that facility. And it was really special for me. It was really neat that, like, we've been trying to get a meeting into this thing called LARC for a number of years, and they kept on being very resistant to Narcotics Anonymous. Though they were detoxing a lot of us, they weren't very willing to allow us to come in their facility and carry the message. And real soon we're going to be in there, you know? Yeah. Go God. Anyway, I went insane. I went to detox, and I stayed in detox. It was a 5 to 7 day detox. First time I was in there, 18 days. Yeah. I was like one of them fish that come out of water and flopping around, seizures, the whole 9 yards. And God was working in my life. I walked out of that place, and I made that decision when they sent me back to my apartment to pack up that I didn't want to use. Okay? But I walked back to my apartment, and there was just too much there, and I didn't have any type of support system. So I started getting loaded again. And I stayed out for another 3 months, till I finally came to the point of where it was suicide or surrender. Okay? And here's where God stepped in. I was in this hotel, I was on the 7th floor. I made a decision that I was going to kill myself. I didn't want to live anymore. You know, it was over. So I decided that I was going to swan dive off this guy's building. And I made sure there was an appropriately expensive vehicle in the parking lot on which I could land. And I'm still a cynical son of a gun, you know. Anyway, so I had 2 choices, suicide or surrender. Admit that I was powerless. And I just wasn't there. So I went up there and I made that decision. I made the decision to kill myself. And it was 6:30 in the evening. At 10:30 in the evening on Channel 10, they used to say, "Blessed is the nation, as God is the Lord." At 6:30, I did enough barbiturates and alcohol to probably kill a large-sized rhinoceros. A big rhinoceros, you know. But I went into this thing called, like, a blackout or whatever they call them. I don't remember outs. And, God, the judge never believed that shit, though. I swear, you know. I was in a blackout. Yeah, right. 90 days. Anyway, when I came to, it was 10:30 in the evening, and I was on this balcony. And there was somebody in my room. And he said, "What are you doing?" I didn't know. I knew one other thing. I didn't want to die. And to this day, I don't know who that thing, or what that thing, or who that person was in my room. Because I got off the balcony, and they were gone. They walked down the hall. I don't know whether it was a spiritual entity, a hallucination, a figment of my imagination, a reflection in the mirror, but God is my witness. There was somebody there. And I wasn't loaded no more. And I scurried like a scared rabbit to detox. I was there. You know, I walked in. They had seen me a number of times. I said, "Hi, I'm here. I want to be detoxed." They said, "Right, have a seat." They didn't know who I was, you know. They were going to make me wait. So I sat there, you know. I sat there, addict alone, thinking, okay? I just had one moment of sanity in an insane lifestyle. Go to detox. I'm sitting in the chair and I start thinking, well, there's a bar down the corner. Why don't I just go and have one more little drink and then I'll come back? But I had already made that decision. I had already made that admission to that loving God in my life. So the decision was no longer mine to revoke. So I made the decision to go have a drink. I stood up, shit in my pants, and they admitted me right away. It works real well. I don't know about here in Las Vegas, but if you want to get in a detox, if you smell real bad, a lot of times they give you special attention. I'm serious. Yeah. Right, Tom? Hopefully you never have to do that. None of you in this room, you know. And if you're really honest, open-minded, and willing, you'll never have to go through that degradation. I will never have to go through that. You know, and that's where I got into NA. I went through detox. I went into a treatment program, and they introduced me to Narcotics Anonymous. And we were in the embryo stage, you know, 9 years ago, close to 10 years ago. They had a couple of meetings a week, and like certain couple of people went to that couple of meetings a week and talked, you know, to each other about staying clean. And I was like a newcomer. I was like a babe in Toyland, you know. Whoa, you know, what's this shit? You know, what's this step stuff? And I got a sponsor, and he started to educate me. You know, a sponsor to me is someone that assumes responsibility for. Okay, I think that's what the dictionary says. Okay, and you know, addicts, as far as assuming responsibility, we'd rather die than assume responsibility a lot of times. But I had a sponsor that assumed responsibility for me, and what he assumed the responsibility of was to carry the message to me, and he started to take me through the steps. I had no problem with the first step. I had no problem with the second step. I got to the third and I started to balk. You know, it was that G-O-D word. The one that had been in my life so many times, but yet I still refused to allow into my heart. And it says we made a decision to turn our will in our life over the care of God as we understood Him. Well, I guess the we people understand Him. I still don't. I understand a few things about my God in my life today. My higher power. He's loving, He's kind, He's compassionate. He wants the best for me. He wants to do me no harm. He doesn't punish me and He doesn't teach me lessons. He allows me to be a student of life and to learn lessons on my own. And when I fall down and scrape my knees, He helps me, pick me back up so I can stumble back down the road again. But it's ironic, we're in Las Vegas, and me being a betting man and not believing in that power greater than myself, I had a sponsor that was in tune to my gambling abilities. And he said, I'll tell you what. He said, here's what you do. He says, I'll bet you my ears picked up. He said, I bet you if you pray for 30 days on your knees, you're going to feel better, or my other ear picked up, or I'll give you some money. You know, all right, best bet I ever had. And what I did is I followed his direction, I did what he told me, and I prayed. And I didn't know who I was praying to, I didn't know what I was praying to, and being of the Irish Catholic modality, I definitely had lots of prayers to draw on. You know, I had books of prayers I could use. But I chose one of my own making, okay? And all I asked was for help. And after that simple bet was over, I was a better man. And then became the fourth step. Now, I don't know how many people in this room have not done a fourth and fifth step, and it's just my opinion only, that if you got time, you want to keep your time, you got to do 4 and 5 in order to even consider staying alive, okay? And this is just me. I was the type of addict that had a hard time looking in mirrors. I was the type of addict that no matter how many chemicals I put in my body, I still had massive recall on every shameful thing I did. Every insane thing I did. And I couldn't live with that. I couldn't look, so I picked up the pen and I started to write. And I was just writing and having a good old time. And I did a 5th step. And I didn't do it with my sponsor. And, if you can do it with anybody you want to do it, just do it. I know the book encourages you to do it with your sponsor, but if you're anything like me and the statute of limitations haven't written out on you some of your beefs, do it with the man of the cloth. He can't rat on you. And that's what I did. I did it with the priest because my trust level really wasn't that high yet. I did it with the priest because I knew that dude was sworn to something else to keep it a secret. I didn't really understand the love and the understanding that a sponsor has for you. Okay? And I felt an amazing, like a spiritual awakening. It was like 1,000 pounds of garbage had been taken off my back. I didn't have to carry that weight anymore. It was behind me. I've been doing 4th steps. Is my sponsor here? Hi, bud, yeah. Yeah. It's almost March 1st, one's due, right? Yeah. I've done quite a few 4th steps since I've been clean, because like that part in the book, they got a chapter, this is more be revealed, and like a few people were talking on today, the longer I stay around, the more I find out how thick I really am and how out of touch I've been in a lot of areas and how even clean I'm capable of just plundering through people's lives, wreaking havoc and insanity. And so that's why I have to write, and I always know when my sponsor is mad at me. Not mad, I wouldn't say mad. I can always tell like when I'm being a bad little sponsoring, I'll be trying to run some real good game by him, how this, well I'll do this and I'll do this, and then all of a sudden like you hear this deep breath and you hear, Jeffrey. And I'm like, uh-oh, this is it, calling cards. And because I tried to run some pretty lame excuses past sponsors in my time. I tried to tell a sponsor one time how I was going to do an armed robbery, and with the proceeds I was going to open a halfway house in Texas. Surreal, yeah. And up here it seemed logical. It seemed really like a good idea, and that's the thing about talking to other addicts. That's the thing about sharing, and when your pain is in your gut, you got to talk about it. Because, if you got garbage in your gut, your tongue's the shovel. Okay? For me. Okay? And you talk about it, and some of the safest, most secrets and logical ideas I've ever had, when they come out this mouth and back in this ear, I go, God, that is sick. But while it's in there, just breathing all by itself, it seems so logical. I sat at a coffee one time with this sponsor. I'm real fortunate to have the one I got now. Okay? The other one's gone. I dismissed him for his lack of willingness to change. I'm serious. I'm serious. He didn't want to read any new literature. I sat there with him, and one night he goes, Jeff, some are sicker than others. And in all honesty, I said, yeah, I see him. There's one there, and there's one there, and there's another one back there. I was never good looking at me. And today, because of the steps and because of you people being mirror images of me, I'm able to look at me. And that's why they gave the 6th and 7th step to us. Those defects of characters and shortcomings. And one of the things that scares me, okay, in Narcotics Anonymous, is okay, and I realize that I'm not responsible for this, and I know it's not my obligation to troubleshoot this system and find the what's wrong with it and tell you guys how to run it. But the things that scares me is when I see newcomers walk through these doors, vulnerable, and get hit upon. Okay? And some of you are going to go, whoa, and they go, fuck you, you're married, you don't care no more, But for me to watch that happen really scares me. Because this thing is supposed to be one addict helping another, and there's supposed to be no dues or fees. Okay, put the soapbox away, right? Because if you think about it, 6 and 7 add up to 13, right? 13 steps. And it's nice to know that when I go to bed with my wife, that I can tell whether she's actually coming or having a seizure. Yeah. Hey, does that tape machine have an edit button? Well, anyway, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these shows, recovery is then possible, you know. I've made my amends. You know who I made my amends to just recently? I made my amends to Jeff. Okay, and for a number of years I missed that guy. And I just sat down just real recently and wrote him a letter. And I wrote it down to the old Jeff. You know, the pre-addict Jeff or whatever, if you believe in that concept, but the pre-chemically induced Jeff. Okay? Because I believe I had the symptoms long, you know. 9-year-old kids don't chase kids down the block with guns because they stole their baseball cards. But I made amends to Jeff. And I finally found out that I love that guy. You know, and that I'm becoming more loving each day and more caring. And you know, those are words that I didn't even like to think about, let alone utter from a podium or any other place out in public, because you guys could use those things against me. But you don't do that. You just give me love. And I think that's the thing that works, makes this fellowship work so well. The love, understanding and care of one addict helping another. It can't beat it. Ain't nothing that beats it. The 10th, 11th, and 12th step are my maintenance steps. Okay? And it's how well I work them, how well I'm maintained. You know? If I get out of sync with 10 or 11 or 12, I'm liable to be off the side of my neck in the blink of an eye and pretty crazy. I would not be doing my responsibility as a member of Narcotics Anonymous if I didn't thank you for allowing me to be of service. And by being of service, I mean picking up ashtrays and cleaning out waste paper baskets and setting up chairs and chairing meetings and going to meetings and being secretary and that other stuff, as well as trusted servant elected positions. Because see, for me, service is a privilege. It's not a job, it's a privilege. And to be given that privilege and trust and understanding from you people to say, hey, we got confidence you're going to do all right. We may not agree with you, and don't fuck up, because we'll tell you about it as soon as you do. it just warms me, you know. It's been a real different year for me. It's been a real different year. I got married this year, and I got a lovely wife and a 4-year-old son who I just cherish in my life. And I've had a real sick mom. My mom's been real sick, and I learned a lot about powerlessness. And I learned a lot about watching somebody be in a lot of pain and not being able to do anything about it. You know, when I first got asked to speak up here, I said there was a disclaimer or an or on it. Okay, I said, yeah, I'd love to come and share. I'd love to come. I was coming anyway, you know, to this convention. When they asked me to share, it just blew me away. I said the only reason that I won't be here is if my mom passes away, because I have to be home to be with her. And she's not going to pass away. I'm here to tell you that. That's because of your prayers, I believe. The people that love me and care about me in Arizona. It was a lot about fear on my part and a lot about projection on my part. But that's how Narcotics Anonymous is my life. I wouldn't be alive. I wouldn't have a life today. Like I said earlier, I was null and void, and you breathed life into me. I got here with hate and hostility, and you gave me love and acceptance. You know, care and concern. Told me to keep coming back. You know, and that's that 12 step. And they got numbers in front of them for a reason. You know, so we can do them in order, I guess. Some of us is a little slow on that, but I wanted to do 1 and 12 when I got here. You know, fuck all that shit in the middle. You know, I'll cop do it and let me get some look goods. You know, come here, honey. I'll tell you what recovery is all about. Anyway, I'm glad to be here, clean. I'm glad to say that today I am a responsible, productive member of society. And that's the last thing I wanted to do when I drove up to these doors. You know, I've had the same job for 5 years, 6 years. Might not be a big deal to you, but it is to me. I never worked before I got here. You know, that was a scary thing. You know, 60 days clean, going out and filling out employment applications. Wow, Mr. Thornton, you're 30 years old. What have you done with your life? Well, let's see. Yeah. I know I qualify for this job. You know, the job of recovery. It's not really a job, it's a pleasure. And I talk too long. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.